On this channel, we spend a lot of time talking about the battles of the Clone Wars, especially the large-scale ground battles and grand naval campaigns. But sometimes, the course of a war can be altered by smaller missions, and throughout the Clone Wars, the Republic dispatched small teams of clone commandos for precisely this purpose, hoping to get an edge over the Separatists through stealth instead of through overt force. One of the most notable commando missions was the mission to Kalura, an early war operation that could have doomed every clone in the GAR if it had failed. In this video, we'll be analysing why.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
Kalura was not all that strategically important, all things considered. Located in the Mid-Rim's Kalura sector, it was a pretty, temperate world with fertile soil and lots of life, home to a community of roughly 200,000 colonists. Most of these human farmers, though the colony was run by an Neimoidian merchant affiliated with the Trade Federation named Lik Unkit. Kalura was the source of a lot of the galaxy's luxury foodstuffs, but because trade in the planet's crops and animal products were controlled by Unkit, most of the planet's population was mostly poor. It certainly had nothing that would make it a worthwhile target for the Republic or the Confederacy, or so it seemed. Just prior to the outbreak of the Clone Wars, during the Separatist crisis, the Jedi Council dispatched. While there, they discovered that the Separatists had taken control of the planet, employing a mercenary force commanded by the Mandalorian gun-for-hire Geets. The Confederacy had built a communications facility near the city of Teklet and a biological research facility near the capital of Imbrani, commanded by the notorious Dr. Ovalot Quail Uthan. The Jedi were able to acquire schematics for these separatist facilities, but Fulier was captured and killed by Hokan, and Tar-Mukan was forced to go into hiding near Imbrani. With the help of an old woman named Jinat, Tar-Mukan was able to survive on Kalura for several weeks. Meanwhile, the Clone Wars broke out in the greater galaxy, and for a few months, the Council had more pressing concerns than their missing operatives on Kalura. That is, they had more pressing concerns until 3 months into the war, when word got back to them that Dr. Uthan's laboratory was working on biological weapons. Specifically, Uthan had allegedly created a nanovirus that would exclusively kill clones, taking advantage of the fact that the whole GAR shared the same genome and thus the same very specific genetic vulnerabilities. Obviously, the Jedi couldn't allow the Separatists to get their hands on such a weapon, and they elected to deploy a special options unit to covertly destroy the facility and rescue Fulier and Tar-Mukan if they were still alive. Omega Squad and a unit of 4 clone commandos whose original squad mates had all been killed was chosen for the job. Pretty much right away, the mission met with complications. One of the commandos, Darman, was separated from the rest of the squad. But this quickly turned out to have a silver lining. Darman was located by Jinat, who helped him find Etain Tar-Mukan. Darman learned from Tar-Mukan that Fulier was dead, while Tar-Mukan learned from Darman that the galaxy was at war and that she was now a commander in the Grand Army of the Republic. Meanwhile, Jinat was able to locate the remaining members of Omega Squad, to whom she revealed that she wasn't an old woman at all. She was a Gurlanin, a member of a polymorphic species that could assume virtually any form. The Gurlanins were the indigenous sentient species of Kalura, and they hated the colonists who feared and hunted them. They had decided to assist the Republic, and in exchange, they wanted the Republic to remove the settlers from their planet. Jinat acted as a messenger between Darman and the rest of the squad. Due to the Separatists' communication facility, all Republic comms were jammed on and around Kalura, which prevented the members of Omega Squad from contacting each other and the Republic fleet. But Jinat helped them overcome this obstacle, and with her help, the rest of the squad, consisting of the commandos Nina, Eitan, and Phi, were able to capture the control room of a mining facility. They took Gutane, one of Geets' lieutenants, prisoner, and interrogated him, ultimately learning little from the Weequay. The commando Nina then set out to blow up the Separatists' communications jammer, allowing the rest of Omega Squad to start communicating properly. He was successful, and following the destruction of the facility, Darman and Etain finally met up with the rest of the squad, joining forces for the final assault. They started by sending Gutane back to Hokan with false information, knowing that he'd be killed for his earlier failure. Meanwhile, they re-established contact with Republic forces in orbit and learned that the Separatists had sent battle droids to back up Gez Hokan's mercenary forces. Undeterred, Tar-Mukan and Omega Squad carried out an assault on the Separatist research facility, hoping to capture Dr. Uthan and blow up the facility before the bioweapons there could be deployed. With the help of the schematics Tar-Mukan had stolen earlier, Omega Squad were able to infiltrate the base and capture Dr. Uthan. Etain, Darman, and Atin hauled her off to a gunship sent down by the Republic ship in orbit, while Nina and Fire remained behind to blow up the facility. As they did so, Gez Hokan ordered a counterattack, dispatching his second-in-command, Captain Hurati, to rescue the Doctor. Hurati was able to wound Atin, but he was killed soon after, as were his men, and Uthan remained in Republic custody. After she was secured, Etain and Darman insisted on going back for Nina and Fire, who were still unaccounted for. Nina and Fire were able to blow up the research base, eliminating the threat of the nanovirus once and for all, but they caught the attention of Gez Hokan himself. The Mandalorian mercenary pursued the two commandos into the woods, where he was snuck up on and killed by Etain Tar-Mukan. With his death, Separatist forces on Kulura fell apart. The members of Omega Squad were extracted along with the captured Dr. Uthan, while Tar-Mukan and Jedi General Arligan Zay stayed behind to train the locals in guerrilla warfare, hoping to drive the Separatists off Kulura for good. In short order, the Separatists abandoned the planet, and Zay and Tar-Mukan stayed on Kulura to command the militia, which they maintained in the event that the Confederacy returned. However, the Gurlanans were not happy with this. Their deal with the Republic had been that they would act as spies for the Loyalist cause, and in exchange, the Republic would immediately evict all human colonists from Kulura, giving the Gurlanans their planet back and allowing the planet's environment to recover from the changes the colonists had forced on it. The Republic had not only broken this agreement, but the militia it had established on Kulura made things worse, allowing the colonists to encroach on Gurlanan lands even further. Furious, the Gurlanans began spying for the Separatists, causing the Republic significant setbacks on the front lines of the Clone Wars. They were prepared to do even more damage, as they had at least 2 spies on Coruscant itself that were poised to leak intel that could change the course of the war. This quickly convinced the Senate of the wisdom of honoring their deal with the Gurlanans, and the Senate voted to expel all settlers from Kulura, effective immediately. But the settlers didn't take kindly to this. Believing that the Republic had betrayed them, the militia Zay and Tar-Mukan had trained switched sides. When clone troopers were dispatched to evacuate the settlers from Kulura, the settlers began an open war against Republic forces, causing a number of clone casualties. Etain Tar-Mukan, who was now a Jedi General, was put in charge of cleaning up this mess. She reluctantly gave the clones authorization to use lethal force in crushing the militia and evicting the remaining Kuluran colonists. Before long, the eviction was complete, presumably over a fair few settler bodies. The Gurlanans had their homeworld back at long last, and it remained that way, at least until the Separatists came back much later in the war. So that's our look at the mission to Kulura, a story you might remember if you've read Republic Commando Hard Contact. But what do you think? Are there other Commando missions you'd like us to discuss? Free to post your thoughts in the comments section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.